Ousen just raw dogged a strategy on the spot and it worked out beautifully. When I found out Shibashou had the same deep voice as Ousen, something else rose deep inside of me. And for an episode to be this good despite no animation in terms of fighting, speaks volumes to the quality of Kingdom's writing, OST, and voice acting. While we're on the topic of peak, it's only right we talk about the peak we got into the upcoming Jian and Zhao matchups, right? Alright, that was a little late, but we'll talk more about that later on. Shibashou's voice actor, the same voice actor that plays Ousen. This is the most important thing to happen in this episode. Sultry, sensual, seductive, a few words that describe the voice acting perfectly. I could not be happier. The episode begins with Shibashou successfully fending off Ordo. Cool. Still, I would have loved to see Shibashou and his Seika army absolutely rail Ordo. Pause. Like in the manga. Also, it would have been a treat to see Ordo absolutely lose his mind knowing Riboku hid away this sleeping tiger. By the way, they gotta start using this nickname in the anime. The anime treats this part as more of a passing scene, but in the manga it is explained that Shibashou was able to repel Ordo's 20,000 soldiers with only 5,000 of his own. That's a huge upscale. Back to the Western Zhao invasion, Jian, having avoided Gyou, instead took a detour to Gotop. Why on earth would Ousen be wasting time? The first thing he does is take all their food. The second thing is forbidding the killing of even a single citizen. A tough ask for those kunky bastards, but nonetheless crucial to his strategy. The third thing is occupying the castle and regretfully urging the citizens to migrate to the next city. It's easy to think that maybe Ousen is just a hero. Maybe there's no hidden agenda. We're just here for the food. But that's not what our young commanders think. Ousen's real purpose for this city has something to do with the citizens that he just drove away. This is our first clue. What could Ousen be cooking? I can't lie, I did like it a lot when Jian started crashing out. He has a point too, actually. Why aren't we heading to Gyou as fast as possible now that we're running on limited time? Not to mention our mountain homies are out there acting as a shield and can't stop until we take care of Gyou. So I see where he's coming from. Cussing out the Supreme Commander though is nasty work. But as always, Ousen does everything for a reason. It would take Riboku at least one day to get to the royal capital, another day to take command of the troops in the capital region, and one more day to reach Gyou. To Ousen, nothing else matters more than making sure his strategy is in place before these 3 days are up. He got something up his sleeve. Although I do like the mystery, the manga gives us a slightly better clue. Unlike the anime, the Jian army fights one more city together before splitting up, doing the exact same thing, taking all their food before casting every single citizen east. To which Ousen then says, the current is taking shape. In other words, Ousen being this meticulous is without a doubt intentional. The three armies then capture the remaining cities following Ousen's instructions to a T. With everyone else confused, who else but Kyokai gives us our second clue to Ousen's strategy. A side note, I thought it was awesome to see that the young trio are capable of taking down cities without the help of Kunki and Ousen. Anyway, Kyokai says that the sea of citizens moving east that Ousen is creating are locusts. Now that is interesting. The only thing I can think of is that locusts usually symbolize famine, or in other words, a great lack of food leading to people moving elsewhere in search of it. It just so happens that all these soon-to-be starving citizens are moving east towards Gyou. Now isn't that spicy? If it isn't clear already, it didn't just happen. This is all according to Ousen's design. Food is not infinite, and Ousen knows this. Riboku has now arrived at the royal capital where he met with two gentlemen. These aren't fighter generals, but rather former vassals of Rinshoujo, one of the past three Great Heavens of Zhao. That's epic. Generals from the same generation as Renpa. Why haven't we seen them before? Well, their main station is defending the capital, so they have to be formidable. Now that Riboku has entered the capital region, news reached him of the refugees that Ousen created. I love how Kingdom smoothly incorporates exposition by having one of the smartest generals ever explain to us the genius of another general that is supposed to be on the same level. First of all, Ousen purposely had the Jian army capture the towns in succession from west to east. Combine this with Yotanwa acting as a shield to the north, and the refugees are forced to move towards Gyou. I'll talk about this next thing more later on, but I do want to note that El Choki, being such a graceful ruler, is a nice contrast to the horrible Zhao king, and that's an understatement. Not only is Gyou overflowing with citizens and running out of space, their food is quickly running out, with the 5th grain house already needing to be opened. Ousen's strategy is becoming clear. Back to Riboku, he knows, Ousen knows, we all know by now, that Gyou cannot be conquered through brute force alone, and yet Ousen chose to push onward anyway. Who in their right mind knows for certain that no weapon can siege this perfect castle and still tries to conquer something that's supposedly unconquerable? Better yet, successfully creates an entirely new weapon using the enemy's own citizens. With Gyo now officially under siege, which Riboku expected to happen, there is one thing that he did not foresee: that the castle under siege would be holding 9 cities worth of citizens. Just like that, if this was a chess match, Ousen put Riboku in check. Somehow, even though Qin were the ones that had their supply lines cut off, Ousen made it into a battle of who starves first. How has it become a race between the Qin army and Gyo when Qin is in Zhao territory? Kunki says it best: Ousen is one crazy bastard. Even though we're the ones being surrounded and starved out, Ousen is somehow able to starve out Gyo using Zhao's own citizens. That's insane for Qin. Insanely embarrassing for Zhao. Riboku then goes to meet the Zhao king in hopes of receiving control of the royal army, but he will not allow even one soldier to leave the capital. He doesn't care about Gyo falling because the capital can apparently withstand a siege of 10 to 20 years. That's actually crazy, by the way. I did not expect that. This is one evil bastard. Even if the capital falls, Bro could care less because by then he should be dead anyway. If there's ever a time to feel bad for Riboku, this is definitely one of them. This is what I meant before by a nice contrast. Tojo is a far cry from his uncle. Riboku's next words are the cherry on top. It is said that a kingdom's enemies are never the cause of its ruin. Fair. An entire kingdom falling through might alone is pretty difficult. Back to the Qin army. Since Ousen has finished all his preparations, the real battle is about to begin. 3 in fact. The Kunki army will be responsible for starving out Gyo while repelling any attacks from minor Zhao armies. The Yotanwa army will be responsible for repelling the Ryoyo army, who they are already fighting. The only difference is that Heki will be arriving shortly as reinforcements with his 10,000 soldiers. Lucky bastard, he has the best assignment by far. And finally, the Ousen army. The Gyokuho, the Gakuka, and the Hishin units will be responsible for repelling the Yatsuyo army, the one that Ousen predicts Riboku will be leading. It's about to go down, and I could not be more excited for next episode. All in all, the only way this episode could have been better was if they added a little more animation or fighting in there, like I said before. For example, showing us Shibashou absolutely tearing up Ordo. Obviously, the highlight was Ousen's Locust strategy coupled by the OST, and Kyokai recognizing it first was pretty cool too. Next week's episode is most definitely going to be a banger. They should be hands thrown for sure. This episode was a 9 out of 10. If you made it to the end, thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode in the comment section below. Also, it would mean a lot to me if you guys leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for another video next week.